Welcome to FCLE Seminar, the Florida Civic Literacy Exam podcast. I'm your host, Mercedes Musto. Today we are taking a look at landmark Supreme Court case. This one's called Texas versus Johnson, 1989. This is a Supreme Court decision that literally ignited fierce debate about the First Amendment's freedom of speech idea. I mean, it's a case that takes us back to 1984 to the great state of Texas, where one man, one flag, and some fire set the stage for a constitutional showdown. Let's get into it. Landmark Supreme Court case number 21, Texas versus Johnson, 1989. Case background. Picture this. It's 1984. The country is deep into the Reagan era, and tensions are running high over the administration's policies. In Dallas, Texas, a man named Gregory Lee Johnson decides to make a statement. In front of City Hall, Johnson sets ablaze an American flag in protest against the government, which was the whole Reagan administration policies and such. Flag burning may have been a symbol of protest for Johnson, but for others, it was an outrage, an insult to a national symbol. Naturally, this didn't go unnoticed by the authorities. See, Texas had a law at that time, no flag desecration here. And Johnson found himself tried and convicted. His punishment? 1 year in jail with a monetary fine, something like $2,000. Well, here's what happened next. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals overturned his conviction. Then this case landed at the steps of the United States Supreme Court. So the central question becomes this: is the desecration of an American flag desecration? What's that? Well, desecration means the act of treating it with disrespect, such as like burning or damaging. So is the desecration of an American flag a form of speech that is protected under the First Amendment? Well, we'll weigh in on this. I mean, remember the symbolic speech example back in episode 26, Tinker versus Des Moines? Wait, is this really about a flag or a protest? No, it's never about what it seems it's about, right? Is it about the limits of free expression and whether the government can criminalize an act simply because it offends people? Oh gosh, that's deep. That's a good question. Let's break it down. The court's decision. The Supreme Court took up the case Texas versus Johnson, and in a 5-4 decision, the majority ruled in Johnson's favor. This one was a close call. Their reasoning: the court explained this act of burning the flag as something called expressive conduct. This is similar to the symbolic speech back in Tinker versus Des Moines, so check that episode out. Here's where it gets interesting. The court didn't deny that flag burning upset plenty of people. I mean, plenty of Americans saw it as offensive to everything this flag represents. But the justices delivered a powerful idea about freedom of speech here. It's like this: the First Amendment doesn't bend just because an idea or an action offends someone. According to oyez.org, Justice William Brennan, writing for the majority, put it this way, quote, "If there is a bedrock principle underlying the First Amendment, it is that the government may not prohibit the expression of an idea simply because society finds the idea offensive or disagreeable," end quote. Think about that for a second. The government doesn't get to pick or choose which ideas are okay to express? That's a big deal. The court was saying that free speech isn't just for some people, it's for all people. Of course, not everyone on the bench agreed. The dissenters argued that the flag was a unique symbol deserving special protection. They saw its desecration as more than just speech. It was an attack on a unifying emblem of the nation. But the majority held firm on the First Amendment's freedom of speech. The constitutional principle. We're talking about the First Amendment here. The First Amendment states that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Why this matters? Texas versus Johnson didn't settle the debate about flag burning. People still argue about that today. But it did cement a key principle. Your right to speak, to protest, to express yourself doesn't vanish just because someone else finds it disrespectful. It's a reminder that the Constitution protects the stuff that's really tough to stomach. I mean, maybe especially that stuff. Let's zoom out. This case isn't just a history lesson. It's a civics lesson. It asks us to wrestle with the hard questions. Where do we draw the line between freedom and respect? Can a symbol be so sacred that it's above criticism? And how do we live together when our deepest values clash? Let's review. The key takeaways from the Texas versus Johnson Supreme Court case are, number one, the Supreme Court ruling. In a close call majority 5-4 decision, the court ruled that Johnson's act of burning the flag was indeed protected under the First Amendment as expressive conduct, and that in this case, it had a clear political message. Number two, the key legal principle. The court emphasized that the government cannot prohibit speech or expression simply because it offends or disagrees with society. Offensiveness does not justify censorship. And number three, one more thing. Regarding the Texas law in 1984, the court let the state officials know that they couldn't stick limited messages on symbols. In this case, the symbolism of the American flag, referring to the earlier quote from the court that, quote, there is a bedrock principle underlying the First Amendment. It is that the government may not prohibit the expression of an idea simply because society finds the idea itself offensive or disagreeable, end quote. This ruling remains a significant precedent in the preservation of freedom of speech, affirming the importance of protecting socially unpopular and even offensive forms of expression. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I got to think about that. Well, that's all for this episode of FCLE Seminar. If you've got thoughts on Texas versus Johnson, and I'm sure you do, or if there's a case you want to know more about, hit us up in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Until then, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep engaging with the ideas that shape our nation. I'm Mercedes Musto. I'll catch you on the next one at FCLE Seminar, a Florida Civic Literacy Exam podcast, so you can pass the FCLE.